Yo, what is up you guys? It's Casey here and welcome to part 6. So I don't really know what to say other than click on the playlist, and you guys have been really cool and supportive so far, so let's just get started. Alright, so we are back in Ableton, so let's just forget everything we've done at this point. So first hour of just gathering all our elements, let's just forget that, and let's put aside some room for ourselves to make a drop. So 15 minutes is a kind of short time to make a drop, so I think what we're going to do is just kind of find some layers and elements that we can use, and maybe in the next one we will just continue that and perfect it and all that. So 30 minutes of tutorial is probably enough time to kind of accurately make a drop. So I like to always just kind of build the build first before I do a drop, so that way I can just like lead myself up into it. So let's kind of use Command I to push this to the side. So let's actually push it off way more to the side. So like I said, this is not an arrangement, we've just gathered the elements. So let's put a marker here, and let's just start with a new MIDI track, and we'll use any synth. I don't know what I'm going to use yet, but let's listen to the build and kind of get an idea. Okay, so I think what we could do is maybe just copy a little bit of drums for ourselves. I don't like to have the full drum section, but you know, typically in drops you want some drums, but a very minimal amount, at least when it starts. Okay, so let's kind of just strip down the drum section. So I'm thinking we don't need this much noise and loops and all that shit. So let's get rid of claps, we don't need that shit. And maybe all the loop stuff. So honestly, very minimal is probably all we'll need. So let's get, I opened up a master layer, so let's make a new MIDI for that. And actually, we don't have to make a new one. Let's just copy one of our one of these progression layers, so that way we can just delete the MIDI and use the D major scale that we have in there. So let's delete that shit and loop this. Let's just select this, delete, and fold this down so we have some octaves of D major. And let's just preset browse, but let's make a quick little pattern. So I don't know what type of pattern we'll need, but I'm thinking before that I want some offset bass. For some reason I'm just like having some offset bass, having a basic groove would really help me out in terms of finding a good groove. So let's go back into samples. So already I'm kind of all over the place thinking of what I can need to do this. So let me just look through this. Okay, so I did find some like Melbourne type of like offset bass. So I mean, I couldn't take the time to I could take the time to make this inspired. These are really easy to make, but I feel like that's just a separate tutorial, and I'd rather just save myself the time and just use a sample for now for that. So even the mix is kind of right for what I want it to be, so let's quickly listen to that. Alright, so let's now go into Massive. Let's make a pattern. So right now we're using the initialize patch. So I'm thinking something kind of low. So like I said, we don't need to go crazy just yet. We need to find a patch that would work. So I'm going to try some variations. So I'm going to have like some kind of rhythmic stuff here, a long sustained note here. So just kind of get something that has some variety of like in terms of the MIDI possibilities with the different patches. So we'll do something kind of like this. So let's go preset browsing. Okay, so that kind of is a little bit cool right there, and I can kind of see something going with that, like with different layers and the LFO rate. We can maybe get something pretty cool with this, especially with some sustained MIDI where we don't have to do a lot. But I do like to always just kind of make something kind of more rhythmic with MIDI, so that way you can translate that same MIDI piece to bass and all that shit. Okay, so that is really a rough idea of what I can maybe work into. So something I like to do to save myself some time is just to like duplicate that very same patch that I've started with and then just finding variations of that. So basically just swapping out the preset for to just try something else out. So let's do that. So let's copy this, solo this, and let's listen. So I think I found a possibility of a possible layer instead of a variation. So maybe if we take off an envelope off the cutoff and put a LFO there instead, or a performer, we can maybe get a perfect layer and beef that up already, or at least have something else to add. So let's do that. So I think I like this new layer a little bit more than I like the top layer that we started with. So I think if we just make it less grungy, because that's really what I don't like about it, that first one is too grungy. I think we just need to go back into the massive patch, clean it up, get rid of like all the distortion and all that shit that can be in there. Alright, so if we bring something kind of higher octave now, because everything we have so far is kind of lower stuff, like if we use a silent and just bring in some saws, I think that would be a good offset, and we can basically, in the next part, just start cleaning this up. So let's listen to some presets in silent, looking for something kind of higher octave. So let's even bring up the MIDI first, an octave or so. Alright, so everything's really messy, but again, like in 15 minutes, you're not going to do much for making a really memorable, crazy drop. So again, we're just gathering our elements. That's, if you've taken anything from what we've done the first hour of this series, is that really gathering your shit first, all your tools, is so much better than just kind of focusing too much on one part. So we'll continue this in the next series, or the next video. So thanks guys for watching, and see you in part 7. So thanks guys for watching, and of course, lates.